There are some moments when you're trying to change something within your organization where people resist what's happening. You've cast the vision, you've created the plan, and you are making progress, and still some people are dragging their feet. They're slow to adopt whatever it is you want to change, or they're skeptical about what's going, and maybe they're even seeding discontent. Maybe they're just quietly ignoring the changes altogether. Well, if that's happening in your business or your organization, let me say this. This does not mean you're doing it wrong. Resistance is normal. It's even healthy. You don't want people to just blindly accept the change, but how you handle it is what determines whether that change will actually stick. In this video, I'll walk you through a simple framework that can help you lead through resistance without losing momentum, your team, or your nerve. Now, the first thing you need to do is to recognize what kind of resistance you are facing. Not all resistance is the same. Some of it's emotional, some of it's practical, and some of it's just fatigue. Now, most resistance falls into one of these three buckets. The first is a loss-based resistance. This is where people feel like they're losing something in the change, either control or identity or familiarity. The second is confusion-based resistance. They don't understand what's changing or what's expected of them or why it should change at all. And the third one is overload-based resistance. They're not against the change, they're just maxed out and they can't incorporate new things into what they're currently doing. And if you don't slow down to read what kind of resistance is showing up, you'll respond to the wrong thing, and that just increases the tension and makes it even more difficult for things to happen. So the first thing is to relate or to figure out what kind of resistance it is. The second is to relate with empathy and meaning. Leaders often jump straight to logic, particularly when there's resistance. Here's the plan, here's why it makes sense, and if you don't follow through, well then you're going to have to find somewhere else to go. But resistance isn't a logic problem, it's really an emotional one, even in all three of these different kinds of places. So before you push harder, connect. Say something like, I know this feels like a big shift. This isn't about replacing you, it's about helping you thrive as we grow. Let's talk about what's unclear or maybe what's getting in the way. One of the biggest questions you should ask is what's making this change difficult for them? The goal is to make people feel seen and to reconnect the change with a shared purpose. Now, on top of this, it's important for you to pay attention to what they're actually saying in their resistance. This is information for you, and their response might actually be pointing to something that you missed. There might be something in their resistance that is actually showing you that it's not necessarily the best way forward, and so you need to be open to listening to that in the process. Just like we talked about earlier, how you need to be open to your team as you are creating a plan to begin with. You need to include them in what's going on. You need to include them in the development and in the implementation of it, and listen to their changes or their suggested changes as you move, because it might actually make more sense to do it that way. So first, you need to figure out what kind of resistance it is. Second, you need to begin and lead with empathy. And third, you do need to reinforce direction with clarity and consistency. Once people feel heard and are heard, they still do need some direction. You can't get stuck in explaining mode forever. So you go back to the core of what helped you develop the change management process in the first place. What are we doing and why does it matter? What impact are you hoping to have, not for your business and not for your organization, but for the people you serve? And then what do you need to move forward? And then follow through. Celebrate small wins, correct misalignment early, and keep telling the story. Because if this change is really what's best, and you have developed that understanding based on the information you have, then as people get the information you have, they will see that the change is the best way to move forward too. They'll understand that the change that you're making is real, and you're not going to back down just because it's uncomfortable. That there needs to be push through that discomfort in order to get somewhere better. So if you're leading change and you're hitting resistance, remember, you don't need to fight it. You need to recognize, relate, and reinforce. Because great leaders don't just bulldoze their way through with change. They listen, they clarify, they adapt if necessary, and they keep moving forward with their people, not through them.